Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Mark Ellis Realtor Unplugged, the show where we talk about all things real estate and really anything going on in the world. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Shuhrat from Life and Lights Photography. She is also a licensed therapist, and she's here to share a little bit about her story with us today. How are you doing?
I am doing extremely well. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to talk to you and, share what I have on my mind.
Yeah. No, hey, I'm excited to hear your story. Speaking of your story, maybe you can talk to us a little bit about your journey. I know that you came to this country from Bangladesh, so that was quite a trip, I'm sure. If you wouldn't mind sharing with the listeners a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That was quite a lot. So I moved with my parents and my sister. So as a family, we moved in 2017. I was still going to school at that time in Bangladesh, so I didn't move entirely until 2019. But it was very not traumatic, but definitely uprooting our lives. Like I was in my mid 20s at that time, so that was a lot. And for my parents to just leave everything behind for the betterment of their kids, like me and my sisters, they just literally sacrificed everything to come to a developed country and for our better future. I mean, when I think about it, it definitely weighs a lot on me, and it just means so much to me. But
Absolutely.
yeah, I could have never imagined where I am now 10 years ago if someone had told me that I'll be here. So it changed my life for sure.
I bet. What an amazing sacrifice, for them to do that for you guys as well. That just speaks to their personalities, as parents, and making sure they could give their kids the best that they have to offer, which is awesome. Obviously, you're doing two totally different careers. Photography and therapists are very different. I feel like they could have some similarities, but for the most part, I feel like they're very different. What kind of made you go down those two separate paths like that?
I know it sounds like on the surface level very different, but the common thread is connecting with people. I think that's what really drew me in, because in wedding photography, I have to connect with my couples. I have to connect with their families and their stories, and same goes for therapy. I think that human intimate connection is the common thread, and that's what really got me in. So in terms of therapy, I am definitely doing much more intricate interpersonal work, and I'm much more involved. But in terms of wedding photography, like I am literally part of one of their most important days of their lives. So that's just so special in both terms, because in both situation, when they tell me, oh, like we couldn't have done this without you, or you're just such an important part of this, like that's so validating, and that's just so special. Like I can never describe in words how hearing those makes me feel. So the reason I think I went into seemingly different but in the common thread is because I just love connecting with people.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I can tell from your personality that those are two great professions for you to be in.
Thank you.
Because I can just tell you're very genuine, and I'm sure your clients feel the same way. That's why they give you those compliments.
Thank you.
Wedding photography is so difficult. I mean, you've got to be like spot on. You got to catch the right angles. You can't miss anything. Like, what if your camera battery dies? You got a lot to deal with. So I commend you for that. And then I heard that editing afterwards is like
a whole
months
different
and
biz.
months and months, right?
Yeah.
To get all the photos edited and video and all that.
Yeah.
So I know that's a lot of hard work, I'm sure.
Yeah, it is. And, I'm type A anxious person. So the backups that you said, like the stakes are very high. And again, just tying both my careers in the same thread, that the stakes are high in both situations, because it's just such great value that I feel like I have to provide. Like what if my camera dies on the wedding day, or as a therapist, like they rely a lot on me to provide that support in one of the most, I would say, some of the most intense crisis moments of their life. So that high stakes certainly makes it a very pressurizing job in both terms, but it also makes it very rewarding, I guess.
No, both very rewarding careers for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about the therapy side of it. What kind of led you down that path to get into therapy? I know before the podcast we were talking about some of your past trauma kind of leading you into the path of becoming a therapist, being a little bit more self-aware. How did you get into that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, where I come from in Bangladesh, therapy has its own stigma around it. It's a little taboo. So you are only going to therapy if you are quote unquote crazy, and I
Yeah.
hate using that word. So it's not very common, and it's not looked at with very much compassion. So during a very tough time in my life when I was in Bangladesh, my now husband, he took me to therapy, and funny enough, I was against it. Like, I was a part of that stigma, and I was like, no, that means I gave up on myself and I cannot help myself. So me going to therapy meant that to me. But once I actually did get over that and went into therapy, it just helped me so much. And it was so fascinating to me that I could just talk to people and be such a great vital part of their life, and not cure them, but just give them such immense amount of support that they feel empowered enough to bring that change in their life. And that just blew my mind, because I was in med school, so all I was learning about was medicine, surgery, like very hands-on. And then this whole new approach came where I could just talk to someone, and I was like, wow, that's fascinating to me. So I think that was the biggest push I had, that, oh yeah, I want to get into therapy. And then I moved here. Of course, I was on the path to be a doctor, like I said, but once I moved here, the opportunities kind of opened up. So the move here really helped me get into it. And after that, it's just history. Like, I told my mom that I don't want to be a doctor. I want to get into something more related to brain, quote unquote, like more behavioral and cognitive and like that. And she was open to it. So I got my master's, and I just, since then, I have never looked back.
Just taking off. Huh?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. And you know what? When you're passionate about what you're doing, I think it's obviously rewarding, number one, but it doesn't feel like work.
No.
Right. And I think if you were a doctor and you had this little thing in the back of your head saying, this isn't really the job I want to be doing, I want to be doing something else, your passion just isn't going to be the same. You know, I can tell just in talking with you right now, you're very passionate about it, and that's pretty cool. I know quite a few therapists. One of the common threads or conversations that I have with them, some of them are my friends, is, at the end of the day, they're here to help people. And they like that path of helping someone uncover, whether it be trauma or whatever that they have going on, that they didn't know that they had going on. Sometimes through a conversation, things come up, and then the person that the therapist is counseling is like, wow, I never looked at it from that point of view. I never thought that those were the things that were going on, the underlying problems, right? So I think that's kind of important to talk about too. Like, when you're in a therapy session with someone, obviously everybody's different. Everybody moves at a different pace than everybody else. What is your approach on that? Like, when you're dealing with somebody, especially a new client, like what's your approach to therapy?
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's very confusing to clients as well, because every therapist, I would say, has different style. But in simplest terms, I always tell my clients, I'm not a pushy therapist. Like, I don't push my clients to share anything with me that they don't feel comfortable with. I am always open to meeting them where they are, because I understand how hard it can be to open up to a stranger, talking about probably the most vulnerable moments in your life. So I feel like the most helpful thing I can do to my clients is meeting them where they are. So just I'm a supporting character. I'm not the main character in their story. So all I can do is I can support them so that they feel comfortable enough and trust me enough to open up to me about whatever they want to talk about. So I think my style is very, in therapy world, we call it person-centered, like just like very focused on what my client needs at the moment. If they're looking for solutions, they get it. If they're looking for a venting space, I'll provide that to them. Whatever they need, I'm like literally water. I'll just be whatever.
Yeah, you flow wherever needed. I like that. I like that. And I think that obviously you, me, everyone has gone through some sort of trauma in their life, right? Whether it be big, small, whatever. I think we all have had trauma in our life that's happened. How do you think your past trauma has influenced your professional career in terms of helping people?
Yeah, it has definitely made me more compassionate, I would say, and just has introduced the understanding of how trauma can shape differently everybody's lives, I should say. Like I can have different response to trauma and someone else going through the same thing. And I see it, I would honestly say, in my sisters. Like when the biggest trauma I can think of is my parents got divorced not too long ago. So I received it differently. My older sister received it differently. And my younger sister, she received it differently. So I think that personal experience really helped me understand that I cannot have any expectation or any deadline or any kind of really framework as to how my clients are responding to certain trauma.
Sure.
And again, tying it back to that, I just have to meet them where they are. And the wonders compassion and empathy and kindness can do in terms of trauma, that's just mind blowing to me. Like,
yeah. I love it. I love it. Something you said earlier is still resonating in my mind, is that you're supporting character in their story. I think that is something that needs to be repeated, because I think that's a very powerful statement. And I was just thinking about that a second ago. So yeah, that was very powerful stuff. I was like, damn, that's kind of powerful. How do you balance? I know in my life, work-life balance is always an issue, right? We're either on the go, selling real estate, showing houses, managing this brokerage here. How do you balance the photography and the therapy? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, there are times when it's literally impossible to have any kind of balance, because weddings are crazy from summer until like it just died down, I would say, in November. So that time it gets really, really difficult to do anything outside of photography and therapy, honestly. But I think it gets a little easier that during winter, therapy kind of picks up because of the weather. Like people are more, it's the seasonal thing. And during summer, people are more like feeling like themselves. So it slows down a little. But I think the biggest thing I have discovered very recently is that I have to be very strict on my boundaries and my limits. Like I'm someone who will push all the buttons I can until I'm falling apart. Like I'm a very go-getter kind of person, but I had to be very cognizant that I also have a limit, which was not an easy recognition to have. Like, but I had to limit that. Okay, I can only see, let's say, 6 clients a day. I cannot work 7 days a week. I have to have either Friday, Saturday, something off. I cannot take more than this amount of weddings. Like I had to really, and it's all about reevaluating. I might come up with a number and then I see I'm getting burnt out. Then I have to be open to reducing that. So I think the biggest secret I have found for myself, that I have to be very strict on what my limits are and not really question myself for it. Like I'm also a human being.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you deserve time off as well.
Yeah.
I know in my business, I do a lot of time blocking, and I'll time block personal time. Hey, on Friday after 2:00, this is personal time, or Saturday, this is personal, whatever works for my week. But if you don't time block and be very intentional with your time, it's very easy for that time to just fly by. And you're like, oh my God, I'm at the end of the week.
Yeah.
I've been working 7 days. I'm burnt out. I just need a break.
Yeah.
And that'll affect how you interact with your clients.
Totally.
And they'll pick up on it. So you got to take that time for yourself for sure.
I agree.
What do you think is like the most rewarding part of your job, either photography or the therapist side of it?
Most rewarding, I think, is just the impact I can make, like the level of impact I can make in both careers. Like the moments I capture as a photographer, sometimes they're probably one of the last moments they might have with some of their families, like their grandma, grandpa, they might pass away. Who knows, like anyone. Yeah. So the moments that I capture, they might not even know that it's happening in their day, but they have pictures of that. So the impact I can have. And in terms of therapy, I mean, that's like beyond limit. Like sometimes clients tell me that, I think the one that comes to my mind is one client told me that she was going through a tough time and we were not meeting that week. And she said she kind of imagined what I would tell her in that situation. And she could hear my voice in her head as she was navigating that tough time. And I think I teared up listening to that. I'm like, I could have never imagined that I could be so vital in someone's life. So hearing those feedback and just knowing that I am making a change either in a very big way or even in a subtle way, I think that makes everything worth it.
I agree. And I think it's a very interesting parallel. Like you're capturing someone's love story in one business, you're helping someone through therapy on another. That's like a very interesting dynamic. I love it. It's not what you see, the average person doing. So and I respect the hustle too, which I love. If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self, if anything?
Gosh, I don't know. Like, I don't even know my 13, 15, or even 20-year-old could imagine where I am.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing I think I was lacking at that time was my belief and self-confidence. So I would definitely just say, trust yourself. You are capable of achieving great things, and you have no idea what's waiting for you
Yeah.
5, 10 years later. So just keep at it, trust yourself, and I guess you got this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think in the world of therapy or photography, what I have found is you're in the customer service business. I hate to use, someone you're helping through therapy put them in a customer category, but at the end of the day, they're your client, right? So we're in the client service business. The photography, we're in the client service business, and I can tell that you provide a very high level of service, and that's very difficult to find in any business, let alone a therapist. And I think a lot of people have this negative tone about, oh, if I'm in a therapy, I'm crazy, or, I don't want to go see a therapist because, some people don't want to uncover some of the things that they've kept buried. And I think this is a good platform to kind of let people know, hey, it is okay. Everyone struggles with something in their life. I personally think everyone should have a therapist. Myself, I'm a huge advocate for it. But if there were somebody out there that's listening to this and something that you would want to tell them to help resonate with, maybe they're on the fence of going to talk to a therapist or not, what would you say to them?
I would definitely start with, and I tell all my clients, no pressure. There is no pressure. Just test it out. Like, just see how it feels. And finding a therapist that you're comfortable with also takes time, and sometimes it is about trial and error.
Yeah.
So you have to go through some number of therapists sometimes to find someone. But I would just say that it's no pressure. There's no expectation from you. It is, you are in full control. So if you don't like it, you can opt out. If you like it, you can continue, but just take it easy. The stakes are not as high, but you are literally in the driver's seat. You get to use this space as much as you need. And it's not, getting into therapy is not a reflection on you being weak, or it's actually the opposite. It's actually you being self-aware and knowing that I need this, versus it being, oh, I can't help myself. That's why I need help. Those are two different kind of approach or reframing we can use. So it's not, getting into therapy is, like I said, it's not a reflection on strength or weakness or anything like it. It just means we're human beings. Sometimes we need additional support, and it's totally okay to get that.
Yeah. I kind of relate it to, hey, you go to the gym to exercise, right? You're trying to keep your body in shape. The same thing with therapy. You're trying to keep your mind in shape. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. No, that's interesting. Let me ask you this. Is there any advice or a quote or something that you've heard along the way that kind of sticks with you, or any advice that maybe someone's told you that you really have held close to your heart? Yeah,
I think it's just something that helps me as a therapist or even as a photographer, is that I cannot save everyone. It's very easy as a therapist to get into that spiral of, oh, it's my responsibility to kind of change my client's life. But the quote that you like, that I'm a supporting character, I had to learn it kind of over time, and I would say the hard way, that I was taking on responsibility as a therapist, that, oh, I should be bringing some kind of change, but I cannot save everyone. It's really not my responsibility. It's not my job. I'm a supporting character. I can provide them resources. I can support them. I can listen to them. But in the end, it has to be the client making the active choices and taking the active actions to do anything about it. So I have to be mindful that I'm not a savior. I'm not honestly that important even. I'm just a supporting character.
Sure. I disagree. I think you're very important in the process of the person getting through that therapy session. So I would say you're definitely important. I know there's different types of therapy. Is there a specific type or style of therapy that you specialize in?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm certainly person-centered. I use a lot of CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which works with identifying our negative pattern thoughts and kind of challenge it, reframe it, introduce different perspectives to it, which helps with anxiety or intrusive thoughts or low self-esteem, even anything, people-pleasing tendencies, a lot of things. CBT is very widespread.
Sure.
But I'm also trained as a trauma therapist, so EMDR is an intervention that is almost like gold standard for trauma therapy, and I got trained in that, so I'm also informed in that way. So a little bit of mix, a lot of things.
A little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
I like it. Well, as we get this wrapped up, if someone did want to connect with you for therapy or photography, what would be the best way of them getting a hold of you or finding you?
Yeah, sure. I have my own website for my photography. So if they search my name, it usually comes up. And in terms of my therapy profile, they can go on Psychology Today. I'm pretty active there, and they can just reach out to me via there.
Okay, one more time. The business name is, let's get a plug in.
Life and Lights Photography.
All right. So everybody watching, go and like that, follow it. This is the girl for the photography.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chris. But no, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story. You're a remarkable human being. I can tell that you're just so passionate about what you do, and as I am, and I try to surround myself with people like that. So, number one, thank you for coming on. It's been an enlightening session. Learning a little bit about you and some of your passions. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. For anybody else that's watching this podcast that enjoyed it, please like us. We can be found on all social media platforms, YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere else you listen to a podcast. Please like, follow, and share. Thank you so much. This is Mark Ellis Unplugged. How do we do? 21 minutes. We kept it tight, huh?